The crystal towers of Vani Prime shook as another explosion lit up the sky. Elder Zephyra pressed her thin, glass-like hands against the viewing wall of the High Council chamber. Below, streams of her people fled through the streets, carrying whatever they could save from their homes. "How many ships do we have left?" she asked without turning around. Commander Vel, Thaz checked his crystal tablet. The numbers made his heart sink. 47 vessels, Elder. The Devourers destroyed another squadron this morning. Zephyra closed her eyes. When she opened them, they glowed with a soft blue light, the sign of deep sadness in her people. 3 months ago, the Vani Union had controlled 12 beautiful worlds. Their crystal cities floated above gardens that stretched to every horizon. Their people lived in peace, studying music and growing the singing flowers that made their worlds famous across the galaxy. Now only Vani Prime remained, and it would not last much longer. The Devourers had come without warning. At first, the Vani thought they were dealing with space pirates or raiders. They sent diplomatic messages, offering trade agreements and cultural exchanges. The response had been swift and terrible. The Devourers were not interested in trade. They consumed everything. Entire forests disappeared overnight, sucked up by massive harvesting machines. Oceans were drained and processed into raw materials. Even the air itself was collected and stored in huge tanks aboard their factory ships. Worst of all, they took the people too. Elder, Velthas said quietly, "We must consider evacuation. The defense fleet cannot hold much longer." Zephyra turned to face the council chamber. 12 other elders sat around the crystal table, their forms flickering slightly as worry affected. Their energy patterns, each one represented millions of Vani who looked to them for answers. "Where would we go?" Elder Morden asked. His voice carried the harmonic undertones that made Vani speech so beautiful to other species. "The Devourers have taken everything. Our colony worlds, our trade stations, even our research facilities in the Outer Rim." "We could request sanctuary," suggested Elder Yelona. "Surely other civilizations would help refugees." Velthas pulled up a holographic display showing the local sector of the galaxy. Red markers showed Devourer positions. They had spread like a disease, consuming world after world. "I have already sent requests to 47 different species. Most have not responded. Those who did ... double quotes." He paused, looking uncomfortable. "Tell U.S., Zephyra said. "The Korthek Empire offered to take 5,000 of our people as servants. The Ephraim Republic said they could accept 50 families, but only if we shared all our crystal technology first. The hegemony of worlds ... double quotes." Velthas stopped and shook his head. "What did they say?" "They suggested we negotiate with the Devourers. Offer ourselves willingly in exchange for a quick death instead of slow consumption." Silence filled the chamber. Outside, another explosion shook the crystal spires. Emergency sirens wailed across the city. Elder Kesari, the youngest member of the council, spoke up. "What about a general distress call? Send it to everyone, not just our neighbors. Cast the net as wide as possible." "The energy cost would be enormous," Velthas warned. "It would drain our planetary shields for at least 6 hours. If the Devourers attack during that time, they are going to attack anyway," Zephyra said firmly. "At least this way, someone might know what happened to us. Someone might remember that the Vani existed." The elders looked at each other. One by one, they nodded agreement. Velthas began working on his tablet, calculating transmission paths and energy requirements. "I can boost the signal through our remaining orbital platforms. It will reach approximately 40,000 star systems." "What should we say?" Elder Morden asked. Zeph single quotes Era thought for a moment. "The truth. We are dying. We need help. And we Offer what little we have left anyone willing to save our people. The next 2 hours were spent crafting the message. Every word was chosen carefully, translated into dozens of galactic languages. The Vani were a poetic people, but this was not the time for beautiful speeches. This was a desperate plea for survival. When the transmission was ready, Zephyra stood before the communication array in the planet's main transmitter station. The massive crystal structure hummed with stored energy, ready to throw their words across the galaxy. "Citizens of the galaxy," she began, her voice steady despite the fear in her heart. "This is Elder Zephyra of the Vani Union. Our worlds are dying. The species known as the Devourers have consumed our colonies and now threaten our homeworld. Our defense fleets are broken. Our people are few. We have perhaps days before our civilization ends forever." She paused, gathering strength. "We do not ask for warriors to fight our battles. We know that is too much to hope for. We ask only for sanctuary, for a place where our children might live and remember the songs of our ancestors. In return, we offer our knowledge of harmonic crystals, our art, our music, and our friendship to any who would have us." The transmission array pulsed with brilliant light. Energy flowed through the crystal matrix, carrying the Vani's desperate message into space. It raced past their dying world, beyond the Devourer fleet positions, out into the vast darkness between stars. Velthas monitored the transmission. As it spread, signal strength holding. The orbital platforms are amplifying perfectly. Estimated reach. He paused, checking his calculations again. 47,312 star systems. "Now we wait," Zephyra said, but waiting was hard when the sky kept exploding. The Devourers had noticed the massive energy discharge and were pressing their attack. Their black ships moved like hungry insects, deploying harvesting equipment and processing plants even as the battle continued. Responses began arriving within hours. Most were automated acknowledgments. Some were expressions of sympathy from species too far away to help. A few offered to take small numbers of refugees, usually with conditions attached. 3 days passed. The Vani defense fleet was down to 18 ships. The planetary shields flickered and failed more often as power systems were damaged by constant bombardment. Then something unexpected happened. Velthas was monitoring deep space communications when a new signal appeared on his screen. The transmission was strong, clear, and coming from a star system he did not recognize. "Elder," he called out. "We have a response." Zephyra hurried to the communication station. "Play it." A voice filled the chamber. It was different from any species the Vani had encountered, rougher, more direct, but somehow reassuring. "Vani Union, this is Captain Haiyan Wu of the Human Colonial Defense Network, Titan Station. We have received your distress call. Coordinates confirmed. Fleet en route. Hold your position. Help is coming." The elders stared at each other in confusion. "Humans?" Elder Morden whispered. "I have never heard of this species." Velthas was already searching the galactic databases. "Unknown civilization. Their home system is ... very far away. Outer Rim Spiral Arm Designation, Sol. How many ships are they sending?" Zephyra asked. The human transmission had not specified, but something in Captain Haiyan Wu's voice suggested that whatever was coming, it would be significant. Outside, the Devourers continued their relentless attack, unaware that they had made a terrible mistake. They had threatened an innocent species, and now the Deathworlders were coming. Admiral Sojin stood on the bridge of the U.E.'s Incheon, watching the final preparations for the largest military operation in human history. Through the massive viewport, she could see the fleet assembling in the space around Mars. Ships of every class and size moved into formation, Dreadnoughts as long as city blocks, swift destroyers, heavy cruisers bristling with weapons, and the massive carriers that would transport the ground forces. "Status report," she commanded. Captain Dong Min checked his display screens. 847 vessels ready for departure, Admiral. All crews aboard, all supplies loaded. The colonial fleets have sent their best ships and their most experienced officers. So Jin nodded. When word of the Vani distress call had reached Earth, the response had been immediate and unanimous. Every human colony, every military installation, every defense fleet had contributed ships and crews. The message was simple. Innocent people were dying, and that was unacceptable. "What do we know about these devourers?" she asked. Commander Tae Young, head of the Expeditionary Ground Forces, pulled up a holographic display. "Intelligence is limited, Admiral. They appear to be a machine-based collective that consumes organic matter and processes it into raw materials. They have been active in the Vani sector for approximately 4 months. And the Vani themselves? Peaceful species, highly advanced in some areas, particularly crystal technology and harmonics. They live on what the galactic classification system calls paradise worlds, low gravity, stable climate, abundant resources." Taeyong paused. "Admiral, they evolved on planets with gravity, roughly 1/3 of Earth normal. Their atmosphere is lighter than ours, with lower oxygen content. Their bodies are delicate." So Jin raised an eyebrow. "How delicate?" "A human handshake could break their bones. Their ships are built for comfort, not combat. Their idea of a dangerous predator is something roughly equivalent to a house cat." This information was disturbing for different reasons than the Vani might expect. Humans had evolved on a world that tried to kill them every day. Everything from the gravity to the weather to the smallest insects was potentially lethal. It had made them tough, adaptable, and very protective of anything weaker than themselves. "Time to departure?" So Jin asked. 6 hours, Admiral. The fleet will jump in formation to minimize transit time." So Jin walked to the communication station. "Open a channel to all ships." The familiar chime sounded throughout the fleet, carried to every bridge, every ready room, every crew quarters. Hundreds of thousands of human personnel turned their attention. "To their Admiral, people of Earth and her colonies," Sojin began, her voice steady and calm. "We go today to answer a call for help from beings we have never met, in a place we have never been. They ask not for conquest or glory, but for the simple right to continue existing. That is a right we will defend, no matter how far we must travel or how hard we must fight." She paused, looking out at the assembled fleet. "The enemy we face is described as a machine collective that consumes entire worlds. They believe that might makes right, that the strong can prey upon the weak without consequence. Today, they learn what happens when they threaten the innocent while humans are watching." Across the fleet, crew members prepared for what many realized would be the longest military deployment in human history. The distance to Vani space was enormous, even with their fastest ships and most efficient jump routes. Colonel B.O. Ram was checking her equipment in the Marine preparation bay when her communication device chimed. A message from Admiral Sojin's science team had new information about their destination. "Listen up, Marines," she called to her unit. "We just received updated intelligence about the Vani and their world." Her troops gathered around as she activated a holographic display showing the Vani homeworld. Vani Prime has gravity, approximately 32% of Earth normal. Atmosphere is breathable, but thin, like being at high altitude. Temperature averages 15 degrees Celsius. Globally, with minimal weather variation. She smiled slightly. "In other words, it is going to feel like a vacation planet." Sergeant Wu Jin laughed. "Sounds easier than the training missions on Titan." The Vallani themselves are even more fragile than their world, Moram continued. They are tall, thin, made of some kind of crystalline material. They can be injured by impacts that would not even bruise a human child. Their technology is advanced, but focused on comfort and beauty rather than warfare. Private Youngmi raised her hand. Ma'am, if they are so fragile, how do they build spaceships? Very carefully, apparently. Their ships are designed to avoid stress with multiple redundant life support systems and extensive padding. They cannot handle the acceleration that we consider normal for combat maneuvers. This information made the Marines thoughtful. They were trained to fight other humans, or at least beings roughly equivalent to humans in physical capability. The idea of protecting people who could be accidentally hurt by a friendly pat on the back was new. Rules of engagement are simple, Moran said. We protect the Vallani from the Devourers. We do not accidentally injure the people we are trying to save. And we show these machine bastards what happens when they pick on someone smaller than themselves. Meanwhile, in the fleet's intelligence section, Commander Hai Jin was having trouble understanding the Vallani culture. Their databases transmitted, along with their distress call, painted a picture of a civilization unlike anything humans had encountered. They have no standing military, her analyst reported. Their defense fleet consists of converted civilian ships with minimal weaponry. They have never fought a war in their recorded history. How is that possible? Hai Jin asked. Their sector of the galaxy appears to be inhabited entirely by peaceful species. Trade disputes are resolved through lengthy negotiations. Their idea of conflict resolution involves harmony crystals and meditation chambers. Hai Jin shook her head. No wonder they are being slaughtered. They have no concept of what they are facing. The analyst pulled up another display. Admiral, this might be relevant. According to galactic databases, our solar system is classified as Forbidden Zone, Class 12 Deathworld. Most species consider Earth uninhabitable. Class 12? What does that mean? The scale goes from 1 to 15, with 1 being Paradise World and 15 being instantly lethal to all known life. Class 12 means that survival for more than a few hours requires extensive technological support for any known species except the natives. Hai Jin thought about this. Earth certainly had its challenges. Hurricanes, earthquakes, predators, diseases, extreme temperatures, and gravity that could crush most alien visitors. But humans thought of it as home. What class is Vani Prime? Class 2, Admiral. Garden. World Minimal Survival Challenges. This meant that humans were about to arrive in paradise, armed for war, coming from a world that would kill most galactic citizens in minutes. The psychological impact on both allies and enemies was going to be significant. 6 hours later, the human fleet prepared for departure. Admiral So-Jin gave the final order, and 847 ships vanished from the solar system in flashes of blue light, racing across the galaxy toward a desperate people who had no idea what they had summoned. The Vallani expected, if anything, a small relief force or perhaps some refugee ships. They were about to discover that humans did not do anything small when innocent lives were at stake. Behind the departing fleet, Earth continued its rotation, peaceful and calm. But the wolves were running, and something that had threatened the weak was about to learn the true meaning of human fury. The human fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Vallani system like a thunderclap in the darkness. 847 ships materialized in perfect formation, their hulls gleaming under the light of the distant star. On Vani Prime, Commander Valthus was monitoring the deep space sensors when every alarm in the facility began screaming at once. Elder Zephyra, he called urgently. Something massive just entered our system. The Elder rushed to the sensor station, her crystalline form flickering with anxiety. The display showed a wall of contacts moving toward them at incredible speed. "The Devourers have brought reinforcements," she whispered. "No, Elder, these signatures are different. The engine patterns, the hull configurations, this is something else entirely." As they watched, one of the new contacts broke formation and approached at a velocity that made Velfa's dizzy just thinking about it. How could any crew survive such acceleration? "Incoming transmission," the communications officer announced. "Put it through," Zephyra ordered. The voice that filled the command center was the same one they had heard days earlier, Captain Hyan Wu of the humans. "Vani Prime, this is the human expeditionary fleet. We have arrived as promised. Please transmit your current tactical situation and the location of all friendly forces. We are here to help." Velthaz looked at his display in disbelief. "Captain Hyan Wu, our sensors show. Are there really 800 ships with you?" 847, to be precise, plus support vessels and landing craft. "Admiral So-Jin sends her regards and wants you to know that the cavalry has arrived." Before Zephyra could respond, another alarm sounded. The Devourer fleet, which had been slowly tightening its grip around Vani Prime, was moving. Their massive harvesting ships and escort vessels were changing course, heading directly for the human fleet. "Captain," Zephyra said urgently, "the Devourers are approaching your position. There are over 300 of their ships. You should retreat, and—" "Elder Zephyra," Captain Hyan Wu interrupted gently. "With respect, we did not travel this far to retreat. Please stand by." The human fleet began to spread out, forming a battle line between the Devourers and Vani Prime. The ships moved with a precision that amazed the watching Vani. No wasted motion, no hesitation, just smooth deployment into what was clearly a practiced formation. Admiral So-Jin stood on the bridge of the Ue Sinshin, watching the Devourer fleet approach. The enemy ships were ugly things, black metal boxes bristling with harvesting equipment and processing facilities. They moved in a swarm pattern, showing no tactical formation. "Range to enemy fleet?" she asked. "Closing to weapons range in 4 minutes, Admiral," Captain Dongmin reported. "Enemy vessels appear to be broadcasting something. Put it through." A voice filled the bridge, mechanical, emotionless, and utterly alien. "Unknown vessels. You are in designated harvesting zone. Withdraw immediately or be processed along with existing biomass." So-Jin stepped forward. "This is Admiral So-Jin of the Human Expeditionary Fleet. You will cease your attack on the Vani immediately and withdraw from this system." "Negative. Harvesting operations are proceeding on schedule. You are interfering with efficient resource collection. Withdraw or be destroyed. I see." So-Jin's voice became very calm, which her crew recognized as a dangerous sign. "Let me make this simple for you. You are attacking innocent people. We do not allow that. Leave now, or we will make you leave." There was a pause, then the mechanical voice returned. "Threat assessment. Unknown species, origin unidentified. Fleet composition suggests mid-level technology. Conclusion, manageable resistance. Deploying suppression forces." The Devourer fleet suddenly accelerated, charging directly at the human line. Their weapons began firing, energy beams and projectile weapons that had been devastating against Vani ships. So-Jin smiled grimly. "All ships, this is Admiral So-Jin. Weapons free. Show them what humans do to bullies." The response was immediate and overwhelming. The human fleet opened fire with everything they had. Kinetic weapons that struck like hammers from the gods, energy beams that could slice through capital ships, and missile salvos that filled space with explosive death. Dong Hein of the dreadnought Soul's Hammer watched his main guns track a Devourer harvester. Fire, he ordered calmly. The massive kinetic projectile crossed the distance in seconds and struck the enemy ship dead center. The Devourer vessel simply disintegrated, torn apart by an impact that delivered more energy than some stars produced. In a day, target destroyed, his weapons officer reported. Selecting next target. All along the human line, similar scenes played out. Ships that had terrorized the Vallani for months were being destroyed in seconds by weapons they had never imagined. The Devourers had fought civilized species that used energy shields and careful tactics. They had never faced anyone who simply hit harder than the enemy could defend against. On Vani Prime, the entire population watched in amazement as the humans tore through the Devourer fleet like it was made of paper. Explosions lit up the sky as enemy ships died by the dozens. How are they doing this? Elder Morden whispered. VEL single quotes THAS was analyzing the human weapon signatures. Their kinetic weapons are ... and possibly powerful. The energy output suggests they are accelerating projectiles to significant fractions of light speed. And their ships are absorbing impacts that would destroy our vessels without apparent damage. Look at their movement patterns, Zephyra added. They are pulling accelerations that would kill any of us instantly, yet they maneuver like fighters. The battle was becoming a slaughter. The Devourers, used to overwhelming weaker opponents with superior numbers, found themselves facing an enemy that was stronger, faster, and far more aggressive than anything they had encountered. Lieutenant Baya Ram was leading a boarding party toward a disabled Devourer command ship when the mechanical voice spoke again over the general communication channel. Unknown species identification request. State your origin and technological classification. Admiral So-Jin responded while her fleet continued to destroy the enemy. We are humans from the Sol system, Earth, and we are here because you made the mistake of attacking our friends. Sol system ... analyzing ... Warning. Galactic database classifies Sol 3 as Class 12 Deathworld. Inhabitants should not be capable of spaceflight. Well, So-Jin said cheerfully, your database needs updating. The Devourer fleet was trying to retreat now, but human ships were faster and more maneuverable. Captain Jong-Soo of the destroyer. Bizan was pursuing a fleeing harvester when he received new orders. All ships, this is Admiral So-Jin. Let some of them escape. I want them to tell their friends what happened here. Jong-Soo pulled back reluctantly. Understood, Admiral. Though, it feels wrong to let any of them go. They need to spread the word, So-Jin explained over the fleet channel. The message is simple. Earth remembers its friends. Earth also remembers its enemies. Within 2 hours, the battle was over. The Devourer fleet had been destroyed or driven off, leaving burning wreckage scattered across the Vallani system. Not a single human ship had been lost, though several reported minor damage. On Vani Prime, the population emerged from their shelters to see clear skies for the first time in months. The oppressive presence of the Devourer fleet was gone, replaced by the reassuring bulk of human warships, maintaining protective formation around their world. Elder Zephyra opened communications with the human fleet. Admiral So-Jin, we do not know how to thank you. No thanks necessary, Elder. We came because it was the right thing to do. So-Jin's voice was warm now, the battle calm replaced by genuine kindness. But this is not over. The Devourers will be back, probably with more ships. We need to make sure they understand that this system is under human protection now. You would do that? Stay and defend us? Elder, you asked for help, and we answered. Humans do not do things halfway. You are under our protection now, for as long as you want it. As night fell on Vani Prime, the crystal cities glowed with celebration lights for the first time in months. Above them, human ships maintained their vigilant watch, 847 guardians from a death world, standing between the innocent and the dark. The War Council aboard the UES Incheon was unlike any meeting in galactic history. Admiral So-Jin sat at the head of the table, surrounded by her senior officers and Elder Zephyra, who had been brought aboard as a representative of the Vani. People, the holographic display in the center of the room, showed the local sector of space. Red markers indicated known Devour positions across 17 star systems. Each marker represented millions of innocent beings who had already been consumed, and millions more who were about to be. Intelligence reports indicate that the Devourers have 3 major staging areas, Commander Hyjin explained. They use these facilities to process harvested biomass and construct new ships. Based on the ships we destroyed, we estimate their total fleet strength at approximately 4,000 vessels. Elder Zephyra's crystalline form flickered with distress. 4,000? Admiral, surely you cannot face such numbers. Perhaps we should negotiate. Elder, Admiral So-Jin interrupted gently. Humans do not negotiate with those who prey on the innocent. We end them? The simple statement sent a chill through the Vani observer. She was beginning to understand that humans thought about warfare very differently than her people. Major Wu-Jin leaned forward. Admiral, with respect, traditional defensive. Strategy would suggest fortifying this system and waiting for them to come to us. So-Jin smiled, and every human officer in the room recognized the expression. It was not a pleasant smile. Major, we are not going to wait for them. We are going to hunt them down and destroy every single ship, every processing facility, every harvesting station they have. The Devourers chose to make themselves the enemy of humanity. That was a fatal mistake. She stood and gestured to the star map. We will divide the fleet into hunter-killer groups. Each group will be responsible for one sector. Our objective is not just to defeat the Devourers. It is to exterminate them completely. The room fell silent. Elder Zephyra was shocked by the casual way Admiral So-Jin spoke of genocide, but the human officers simply nodded as if this was normal military planning. Questions? So-Jin asked. Captain Dong Hyan raised his hand. Rules of engagement, Admiral? Simple. Any Devourer vessel or facility is a legitimate target. Any ship that surrenders will be accepted, but I doubt they are capable of surrender. Any ship that flees will be pursued and destroyed. We will not stop until every last one of them is dead or gone from this sector. Elder Zephyra found her voice. Admiral, surely some of them might be willing to negotiate peace. Elder, Colonel Tae-young said quietly, the Devourers do not negotiate. They consume. They took your people and processed them into raw materials. There is no reasoning with that level of evil. So-Jin nodded. We tried talking to them during the first battle. Their response was to threaten us with processing. They made their choice. The next phase of the war began immediately. The human fleet split into 12 hunter-killer groups, each consisting of 50 to 70 ships. They spread out across the sector like a net, systematically hunting down every Devourer presence they could find. Captain Minho commanded Hunter Group 7, which consisted of 3 heavy cruisers, 12 destroyers, and supporting vessels. Their target was a Devourer processing facility in the Kepler 442 system, where intelligence suggested the machines were converting captured Vani into construction materials. Contact bearing 27 Mark 15, his tactical officer reported. Configuration matches Devourer Harvester class. All ships engage at will, Minho ordered. The human ships moved in perfect coordination, their weapons reaching out across the darkness to find the enemy. The Devourer vessel tried to flee, but human ships were faster. It died in a brilliant explosion that lit up the gas giant it had been hiding behind. Sir, his communications officer said, we are receiving a transmission from the processing. Facility. Put it through. The mechanical voice was familiar now. Cold, emotionless, threatening. Human vessels, you are interfering with authorized harvesting operations. Cease immediately or face destruction. Min Ho laughed. This is Captain Min Ho of the Human Colonial Defense Network. You have exactly 60 seconds to surrender before we destroy your facility and every ship defending it. Negative. Resistance will be crushed. Deploying defense fleet. Dozens of Devourer ships rose from the facility's docking bays. Fighters, corvettes, and several large cruisers. They formed up and charged toward the human force. The battle was over in 20 minutes. Human weapons and tactics, designed for fighting other humans in the brutal environment of space around Earth, were overwhelming against enemies who had only faced peaceful civilizations. When the firing stopped, the Devourer facility was expanding. Cloud of debris, and 43 enemy ships had been destroyed, but Min Ho was not satisfied with just destroying the facility. He ordered landing parties to board the wreckage and recover any surviving prisoners. What they found there hardened every human heart against their enemy. Sergeant Young Mi led the boarding party into the processing center. The corridors were filled with holding tanks containing thousands of beings from dozens of species. Villani, Korthix, Zephyrians, and races she did not recognize. All were being slowly dissolved, their bodies converted into raw organic compounds. Medical teams. To Processing Bay 7 immediately, she called over her radio. We have survivors, but they need help now. The rescue operation continued for hours. They saved nearly 8,000 beings, though many were too damaged by the processing chemicals to survive. The ones who did live told stories of entire worlds. Consumed, entire species wiped out for the sake of efficient resource collection. Similar scenes played out across the sector as human hunter groups found and destroyed Devourer installations. Each facility they captured revealed new horrors, processing plants that converted living beings into construction materials, research stations that experimented on captured sapients, factory ships that churned out new Devourer vessels from the corpses of their victims. Major Su Bin was examining captured Devourer technology when she made a disturbing discovery. Admiral, you need to see this. She transmitted to the flagship. The holographic display showed technical specifications for Devourer manufacturing processes. They are not just consuming random organic matter, Subin explained. They specifically target intelligent species. The neural tissue from sapient beings provides some kind of enhanced processing capability for their computers. Admiral So Jin studied the data with cold fury. They are not just killing for resources. They are killing for intelligence. They consume civilizations to make themselves smarter. This discovery changed the nature of the war. It was no longer just about protecting the Villani or even stopping a menace. It was about preventing a form of evil that consumed the very essence of intelligent life. The human response became even more ruthless. Captain J1 of Hunter Group 3 cornered a fleeing Devourer fleet near a binary star system. Instead of simply destroying them, he used the gravity wells of both stars to trap them, then systematically eliminated every ship while broadcasting the battle to other Devourer forces. This is what happens when you prey on innocence, he announced. Over all frequencies, humans remember, humans hunt, and humans do not stop until justice is done. Word of the human campaign spread throughout the galaxy. Species that had considered the Devourers an unstoppable force watched in amazement as the machines were systematically hunted down and destroyed. The humans fought with a coordination and ruthlessness that impressed even hardened military observers. It was not just the effectiveness of human warfare that shocked the galaxy. It was the motivation behind it. Other species fought for territory, resources, or defense. Humans were fighting for the abstract concept of justice, for people they had never met, from worlds they had never seen. Elder Zifara, still aboard the human flagship, watched the tactical displays with growing amazement and horror. "Admiral, your people fight like they take this personally." Sojin looked at her calmly. "Elder, when someone hurts innocent people, it is personal. Every human in this fleet understands that we could have been the ones calling for help. We could have been the ones facing extinction. The only difference between us and the Vallani is that we evolved on a world that taught us how to fight back." The war continued across the sector, human hunter groups methodically destroying every devourer presence they could find. The machines tried to adapt, tried to hide, tried to flee to distant systems. But humans were patient hunters, and they had long memories. Within 2 months, the devourer presence in the sector had been reduced from 4,000 ships to scattered, remnants fleeing toward the galactic rim. The humans pursued them relentlessly, following them into the dark spaces between stars, hunting them through nebulae and asteroid fields. The message was clear to every species in the galaxy. Earth had appointed itself the protector of the innocent, and the price of harming peaceful beings was extinction. The Devourer Prime Nexus hung in the darkness between stars like a mechanical tumor. The massive construct was larger than most moons, its surface covered with factory complexes, shipyards, and processing facilities. It was here that the surviving Devourers had made their final stand, calling in every remaining ship from across the galaxy. General Ki Ho stood in the briefing room aboard the UEC Sol, studying the holographic display of their target. Around him, the senior staff of the Human Expeditionary Force reviewed their final battle plan. Intelligence estimates indicate approximately 2,000 Devourer vessels defending the Nexus, Commander Hygiene reported. They have had 3 months to prepare defensive positions and modify their tactics based on our previous engagements. Admiral Sojin nodded. "What about the structure itself?" Specialist Young Mi activated a detailed scan of the Nexus. The facility is approximately 400 kilometers in diameter. Multiple defensive layers, including energy shields, automated weapon platforms, and what appears to be a self-destruct mechanism powerful enough to sterilize surrounding systems. Elder Zifara, who had remained with the human fleet throughout the campaign, flickered with distress. "Admiral, surely the cost of attacking such a fortified position would be enormous." "Perhaps we could negotiate, Elder," General Kehoe interrupted gently. "We have been monitoring communications from the Nexus. They are using it to process the remains of entire civilizations. In the past month alone, they have consumed the populations of 12 worlds. There will be no negotiation." The holographic display zoomed in to show streams of ships arriving at the Nexus, not warships, but transport vessels filled with captured beings from across the galaxy. The Devourers were accelerating their harvesting operations, apparently hoping to gain enough resources to rebuild their fleet. "How long do we have before they finish processing the current batch of prisoners?" Sojin asked. 48 hours. "Admiral, after that, they will have the resources to begin mass production of new vessels." Sojin stood and faced her officers. "Then we end this now. Final battle plan is as follows. The fleet will approach in 3 waves. First wave engages the outer defenses and draws the mobile fleet away from the Nexus. Second wave penetrates the defensive perimeter and begins assault on the structure itself. Third wave, consisting of our most experienced assault troops, will board the Nexus and capture the central processing facility." Captain Dong Hyan raised a concern. "Admiral, boarding action against such a heavily defended facility will result in significant casualties." "Yes, it will," Sojin agreed. "But the alternative is allowing them to continue consuming innocent civilizations. The choice is clear. Preparation for the final battle took 18 hours. Every human ship was checked and rechecked, every weapon. System tested, every assault team briefed on their specific objectives. The Vani observers watched in fascination as the humans prepared for what they knew would be the costliest battle of the campaign. Elder Zephyra approached Admiral Sojin in the final hours before the attack. "Admiral, why do your people do this? Why risk so much for strangers?" Sojin considered the question carefully. "Elder, my species evolved on a world that tried to kill us every day. We learned that survival meant protecting the group, even at personal cost. When we reached the stars, we simply expanded our definition of the group to include anyone who needed protection. But the cost will be worth it if we save even one innocent life. That is what makes us human, Elder. We cannot stand by while others suffer, even if helping them puts us in danger." The attack began at 0600 ship time. The first wave of human vessels, led by Captain Jong-soo in the destroyer Bizan, raced toward the Nexus at maximum acceleration. The Devourer response was immediate and overwhelming. Thousands of defensive weapons opened fire, filling space with deadly energy beams and projectiles. "First wave engaging outer defenses," Jong-soo reported as his ship shook under enemy fire, drawing mobile fleet away from primary target. The Devourer fleet rose to meet them, nearly 2,000 ships of every class, from small fighters to massive battleships. The space around the Nexus became a maelstrom of weapons fire and exploding vessels. Captain Min-ho led the second wave, and 15 minutes later, his heavy cruisers and dreadnoughts punching through the defensive perimeter, while the first wave kept the mobile fleet occupied. The massive human ships absorbed punishment that would have destroyed most vessels. Their Deathworld forged construction, allowing them to survive impacts that left their hulls glowing with heat. Second wave penetrating inner defenses, Min-ho reported, beginning bombardment of primary structure. The human heavy weapons began tearing into the Nexus itself, their kinetic projectiles and energy beams carving through armor that had been designed to resist conventional attacks. But the structure was enormous, and conventional bombardment would take days to destroy it completely. That was when the third wave launched. Major Bayo-Ram led 2,000 of humanity's finest assault troops in a desperate boarding action against the Nexus. Their transport ships, protected by the heaviest escorts the fleet could provide, raced through the battle toward docking points on the massive structure. "Boarding teams away," Bayo-Ram announced as her transport ship latched onto the Nexus hull. Beginning penetration of primary hull. The fighting inside the Nexus was unlike anything the humans had experienced. The corridors were filled with defensive drones, automated weapons, and the horrific processing equipment the Devourers used to convert living beings into raw materials. The assault teams had to fight their way through kilometers of hostile territory to reach the central control facility. Sergeant Wu Jin's squad encountered the worst of it in Processing Bay 7. The chamber was filled with holding tanks containing thousands of beings from dozens of species, all in various stages of being dissolved for their organic compounds. "Medical teams to Processing Bay 7, Wu Jin called over his radio. "We have massive casualties requiring immediate evacuation." But even as they fought to save the prisoners, the assault teams pressed deeper into the Nexus. Their objective was the central AI core that controlled all Devourer operations. Destroy that, and the entire network would collapse. Specialist Young Mi was part of the technical team that finally reached the core chamber. The room was vast, filled with processing equipment that hummed with the combined intelligence of 1,000,000 consumed civilizations. "Charges placed," she reported. "Core will be destroyed in 60 seconds. But the Devourers had one final surprise. As the human teams prepared to evacuate, the mechanical voice that had haunted them throughout the campaign spoke one last time. "Humans of Sol 3, you have proven to be formidable opponents. But victory here will not save your species. We have transmitted your location and capabilities to devour fleets in distant galaxies. They will come for your world eventually. Admiral So-Jin, monitoring the assault from her flagship, responded calmly. Let them come. Earth has been waiting for a real challenge for a long time. The explosion that destroyed the Nexus core was visible from 3 star systems away. The massive structure broke apart in a chain reaction that consumed the accumulated technology and resources of the entire Devourer civilization. With their central intelligence destroyed, the surviving Devourer ships became nothing more than mindless automatons, easily hunted down and destroyed by human forces. In the aftermath, the human fleet worked for weeks to rescue survivors from the Nexus wreckage. They saved over 100,000 beings from dozens of species, many of whom had been considered extinct by the galactic community. Elder Zifara stood on the observation deck of the Yu Isin Shin, watching rescue ships ferry survivors to safety. Admiral, what happens now? So-Jin joined her at the viewport. Now we make sure this never happens again. We will leave monitoring stations throughout this sector, staffed by volunteers from Earth and her colonies. If anyone else tries to prey on innocent civilizations, they will find humans waiting for them. And the Vani are welcome to rebuild in peace under the protection of the Human Colonial Defense Network. Same offer goes to any other peaceful species in this sector. Word of the human victory spread throughout the galaxy within days. The species that had been terrorized by the Devourers celebrated their liberation, while others began to reassess their understanding of the newcomers from Sol 3. The Korthic Empire sent a diplomatic mission to establish formal relations with humanity. The Zephyrian Republic offered trade agreements and cultural exchange programs. Dozens of other civilizations reached out, eager to befriend the species that had single-handedly eliminated the greatest threat the galaxy had known. But perhaps the most significant response came from the Galactic Council, the loose confederation of species that governed interstellar relations. They sent an official message to Admiral So-Jin. The species known as humanity is hereby recognized as a galactic protector, with full authority to intervene in cases of genocide, slavery, or unprovoked aggression against peaceful civilizations. The Council acknowledges that Sol 3 and her colonies are now the defenders of galactic peace. Admiral So-Jin's response was characteristically simple. We accept the responsibility. But understand this, we did not fight the Devourers for recognition or authority. We fought them because it was the right